Hello team, and welcome to a second part of the trigger point release using a ball. So this time around we're going to be working on the release of the lower body. Okay, I'm Diego and I'll be showing you a series of different release movements that you can do at home or anywhere, at home, on the office, wherever you are. And all you need is just a ball, as we did on the upper body release. This time around, we're just going to work from your hips down. Particularly important also to release, as we spend a lot of time sitting and driving and just tighten up the muscles on your lower body. So again, today we're going to be using a lacrosse ball, but like I said in the previous videos, you can use either a hockey ball, tennis ball, any sort of ball that you might find. And we're just going to get started now. Follow me. Now, the first one that we're going to be working on is the release of the glute max, and the piriformis, which is the main two trigger points that we all find in our hip area. Okay, so for the first one, what we need to do is, if you are able to lift one leg and just place your hand on your glutes, you might find like a particular spot close to the sitting bones, that is kind of like the insertion of the hamstring and the glute max. So, and again, there's not a right or wrong when it comes to it, and we can give you and pinpoint coordinates on how to find the spot, but the best way to do it is just to place the ball against the wall and then lean against. So you might find that there's a particular spot where you might feel a little bit of tension. So as we lean against the wall and apply a bit of pressure in there, you're going to start to move side to side until you are pinpoint that trigger point. You will find a bit of a mild numb sensation going down. Okay, so I'm going to try to allow yourself to lean and breathe. It's very important also to breathe, just to allow the muscles to relax as much as possible. Okay, so it's a nice little break that you can take in the office and also at home in any spare moment that you might find. Now, as you lean against, you're gonna whirl around as moving into a circular motion, and from that position, you can breathe again and just go side to side. Obviously, you're gonna be working on both sides. I'm gonna be showing you just the right one today. And as we release through that, we're going to get into the next spot, which is a little bit higher. Now, this particular spot is just on the top end, slightly lateral on the top end of your hips and your glutes. So we call it piriformis. Little muscle that goes through the path of the sciatica nerve. So many times you will find that sensation starts on the hip, very local, and from there it starts to travel down all the way through the hamstrings and up to your calf. So it's a very sharp sort of sensation. And what we're going to try to do from there, either stay stationary or start moving in little circles. And if you're able to, you can also lift one leg and just floss it, okay? Really good way to release. And again, it might get a little bit sharp, so just breathe, stay with it. The more you do it, the more bearable it becomes and the more benefit you get out of it. And again, rule of thumb, just find 5 or 10 repetitions that you can do. And relax. Now, shake up a little bit, and obviously you can do the other side. And then from there, we're going to move to the hamstrings. Now, in a previous episode, I showed you a release that you can do using the foam roller, okay? The idea of this is will be more pinpointed in a particular area, okay? So it's similar, but not exactly the same. So that's why the recommendation is, if you are able to, try to mix it up by using the foam roller one day and another day using the ball. All right, for this one, we're going to try to find, again, the top end of the hamstring, okay, just before it gets into the insertion on the hips and on the glutes, okay? And as you place the ball in there, you're going to try to use your body weight. So as you move it side to side, you're gonna find that tendon, and you're gonna go on both sides of it. You're gonna lift a little bit your hips by lifting and putting pressure with your hands, lifting your hip up. And you're gonna try to identify those particular spots. So we all have tension through the hamstring, but not necessarily on the same spot. So it might prove beneficial just to move side to side until you find those spots that get a little bit sore. From that position, I'm gonna try to keep the leg fully extended. I'm gonna try to bring your toes towards your face, okay? So these muscles get very tight, particularly when we're sitting too much. So I'm gonna try to keep the leg extended. And as you bring your toes towards you, you're gonna feel that stretch on the hamstring. From there, again, incorporating a rhythmical breathing pattern, I'm gonna try to allow your upper body to move forward. You're gonna feel that stretch, but also because the pressure of the ball is gonna get a little bit more intense. From that position, you're gonna try to lean forward, feel that stretch, allow the antagonist muscles, so the quads, the front of your thigh, just to relax as much as possible while you contract and stretch the posterior side of your thighs, your hamstrings, okay? From there, you're gonna try to allow yourself to move forward, but without slouching, so keeping your back nice and straight, and ensure the ball remains on that spot. Now, once you feel that they start to ease off a little bit, you can travel the ball a little bit through more on the medial part of the posterior thigh. And you're gonna try to find like just a little groove in between, okay, the hamstrings bands. So from there, you're gonna try to, again, travel forward a little bit, feel that stretch, feel that point releasing, yeah, while you maintain that ankle joint at 90 degrees and toes towards your face. From there, you can go side to side, back and forth. Find the alignment. I'm going to try to use different sort of stretching sequences. So the idea is just to start on the insertion, then coming up a little bit halfway through, and then a little bit lower, just on the lower part of the hamstrings, okay? So as you're leaning there, you can bend the other knee, keep a more aligned posture, and again, leaning forward. And again, you're gonna go back and forth a little bit more, try to feel that release and that stretch. From there, we're gonna try to go into the calf muscles. So we're gonna work mainly to start in the gastrocnemius area, which is the upper calf, just below the insertion of the calf muscles, just below the insertion on the joint of the knee, okay? So as you try to identify the spots, we're gonna go working on the lateral band. So the gastrocnemius, the upper calf, it has two hits. We're gonna start working on the lateral one. Now, most of us will have a lot of tension, not necessarily on one particular point, but the whole band itself. So it's important just to move a little bit until you identify that particular area or spot where most of the tension gets. Now, this could be a little bit hard sometimes to find, and if you don't feel enough tension in there, you can apply a little bit more by placing the other leg on top. So that extra weight is going to help just to put a little bit more, obviously, pressure on those particular spots. Again, this might be a little bit uncomfortable at times, but with a little bit of breathing, you're going to get there. So we're going to go side to side a little bit, very small control type of movement. And then I'm going to try to ease into the internal face of the muscle as we slightly rotate, and you're going to lean forward again. Now you can find that this is not the most comfortable trigger point release that you can find, but it's very beneficial, particularly if those of you that are wearing high heels or shoes with a very solid sole, okay? So it helps just to get more plantar flexion and dorsiflexion, which is a very important movement that we have on our feet in order to create a wider and bigger range of movement. Now from there you can move into the soleus trigger point. So the soleus is the lower calf, which is the continuation of the Achilles tendon, okay? So you, with your fingers, you just pinpoint and just try to find your tendon, okay? And then once you start to feel that it gets a little bit more squishy over here, halfway through the lower calf, you're gonna just try to place again the ball on the ground and your foot in there, and again, you're gonna put a little more weight. Now from that position, you can either lean forward, yeah, and feel the stretch and the point straight away, or you can lift and going back and forth, which you can get a little bit sore. So I'm gonna try to, again, breathe through it and try to release. You can stay stationary and then going side to side and creating circular motions with your foot, or going back and forth, and again, to do the movement that I already explained, the dorsiflexion and plantar flexion, just to create that wider range of movement on the lower foot. Very good. Now, another good release that you can do is on the iliotibial band on the side that comes all the way from the top end of your external band on your leg up to the insertion on the knee. Now, if you are keen, you can get it on the floor, but that gets a little bit painful. So it's about finding those little spots and releasing. This might be a little bit too much at times, so you can get against the wall, which feels a little more in control, a little more comfortable. And from there, all you need to do is just lean against, okay? And then as you find and identify those spots, you're gonna try to lean, breathe, and allow the muscle to release. Now, over here it's a little bit harder normally because the iliotibial band is not a muscle, but it's a band of connective tissue. So it's hard just to do a traditional type of stretch on its own in order to release. That's why using trigger point release with the ball is so beneficial and so effective, okay? Now you can get through and find that you might find a couple of different areas, and both sides will be potentially different as we tend to favor one side, okay? So the idea is just with the ball, releasing side to side. And again, you can use a foam roller, but this will be giving you an extra level of release. Another one that I wanted to show you today, just to complete the whole circuit, it will be the release of the hip flexor. Now, with traditional stretches, you probably would have done in the past some sort of stretch where you hold your ankle, bring you back straight, and I'm going to try to push again. So the idea is just to open it through here on the insertion of the quads on the hip. Now, with the ball, you're able to actually access those spots where what you need to do is find the insertion where the tendon of the quad inserts on the hip, and very carefully you're going to be placing the ball. Now this is a very sensitive area, so from here you're going to try to find, and instead of putting too much pressure, just lean and you're going to start to floss. Now the recommendation is always in here, just start very gentle and very slow, without having to go too deep in that. Eventually, when you get to a point that it doesn't feel too much, you can lean properly and even lift and hold your body weight with your hands and flossing it back and forth. Moving back and forth 5 to 10 times, and obviously once you've done one side, you can do exactly the other side as well. Now, I hope you find this beneficial. If you have any questions, let us know, and we'll be more than happy to help you out. See you then.